people are always very excited when I speak Malayalam, and even if I make a mistake, they're like, it's fine, you're trying. And I'm like, please tell this to your kids instead of mocking them for their mistakes, you know? As kind as you are to me learning, please. They're like me, they're native English speakers. I know they're Malayali, their blood is Malayali, they have that culture in them, but their first language is English. I grew up in Savannah, Georgia for half my childhood, and then I moved to Northwest Georgia, so basically at the Tennessee border. I grew up with that stereotypical, very thick Southern accent until I reached high school. So I think that's one thing I kind of regret, is that I had this really regional accent, and then media and a lot of other people were saying like that it's an ignorant accent, and now when I look back, I was like, I really miss it, and I can't even fake it if I wanted to. So. Right, so when I was in high school, I learned Spanish and university as well. And that used to be my second best language, but now since I've started learning Malayalam, I feel like my brain has one spot for foreign languages and they have to all share a room, and it gets frustrating. When I was in Korea, I studied Korean. I can still read it, but I don't remember a lot of it. And also I worked with a Japanese family, so I had studied Japanese for a bit. Now, since I've coming to Vietnam for the last week, I've started learning Vietnamese, which is a really exciting challenge. I feel that if you go somewhere and you're living someplace, and it's at least basic decency to try to learn a few things or try to understand the concepts in their language. You don't have to become fluent in it, but you know, to ask for something politely or be a part of the culture instead of standing out from it, I think that's really important. My family is very complicated, but the only thing that I know for sure is on my mom's side. In the 1800s, her great-great-grandfather came from Scotland and ended up in Oklahoma. And I don't know why anyone would choose Oklahoma over Scotland, but so we've always migrated around. So Georgia is not my parents' birthplace. My mom was born in Washington. My dad was born in Indiana. And so I think in that way we are just generically American in the fact that we've been around all kinds of places. And then I ended up leaving the country. And I was the first in my family in recent history to live outside the US, so that was a big shift as well. ഞാൻ ഇന്റർനെറ്റിൽ റീസെർച്ച് ചെയ്ത് പുസ്തകം, how would I pluralize that? പുസ്തകങ്ങൾ കണ്ടു, പക്ഷേ ഈ പുസ്തകം വളരെ academic ആണ്. So I was looking at these really academic textbooks, പക്ഷേ ഞാൻ ഒരു ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ടീച്ചറാണ്, അതുകൊണ്ട് എനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലാവും. I can understand the terminology, you know, participle phrase, referential pronouns, these types of things. So I slowly started making parallels between English and Malayalam. പിന്നെ ഞാൻ ഒരു Instagram account ഉണ്ടാക്കി, അവിടെ എൻ്റെ handwritten notes posts ചെയ്തു. So I just wanted to create a studygram because I thought, I'm studying this, I'm making notes, maybe someone else wants to see my notes. After about a year, the page went viral and I suddenly had a ton of followers and a lot of support, and that really put the pressure on me, like, wow, you should really keep up with this. So it really is daily practice. The little things add up over time. I think when we first start a language, we're like, what's the fastest way to learn it? How can we do it in a quick way to learn it perfectly? And I think we have to step back and realize we didn't learn our native language overnight, right? It took us years. Even 3, 4, 5-year-olds make grammatical mistakes. Like, this is very normal. It's been 3 years since I've started learning Malayalam, and now I'm at a point where at least I can have small conversations with people and it feels really good. You have to keep practicing and making a ton of mistakes and hope that people are kind to you about it. We live in an age now that from your mom's generation, we went one way on the pendulum swing, which was survive and thrive in your, you know, new place, English only, have to succeed, this whole post-colonial mindset, West is best. Now the pendulum is starting to swing the other way, where it's like, wait a second, we're fine, we're surviving, we're thriving. Now let's get back to our roots. And because of social media, because of the internet, we're able to connect and network with other people within our groups and uncover these things. People will say Malayalam is the hardest language, and then that kind of demotivates them from learning it. It also depends on your perspective, right? Because if you're from Tamil Nadu, learning Malayalam is not as hard as someone who's from Europe, right? To learn Malayalam. But you know, Malayalam is difficult in the sense that it's very different from English in the way that verbs are understood or that phrases are made. But it's easier in some ways because the sounds are always the same, for example, whereas in English, K-N-I-G-H-T is not pronounced knigget, it's pronounced night. Everyone's like, why? So, Spanish is close to English, so Spanish is quite easy to learn comparatively. It's, like I said, it's like between Malayalam and Tamil. Japanese is easy to pronounce, but difficult to read. Korean is easy to read, but more difficult to pronounce. So, like, each language has its own, things. Like, right now, Vietnamese, the grammar is quite easy. There's no verb tenses, but there's 6 tones. So if you say one word wrong, you want to say one word, and then you end up saying a swear word, and then it's a big problem. So yeah, each language comes with its own set of challenges. When I try to explain pronunciation, I like to draw a picture of a mouth and show the tongue placement. And things like this create language awareness. And then once that's there, it's like, okay, I can handle this maybe. My best trip in Kerala was last summer. I had spent 3.5 weeks doing a solo trip. I started at Kasaragod and went all the way down to Trivandrum. So I felt that if I'm becoming known for speaking Malayalam and showing more about Kerala culture, that I should, introduce myself to the different parts of Kerala, because there's not one way to be a Malayali. There's not one way to be a Keralite. I wanted to see the different places, hear the different accents, try the different food, because a lot of bloggers or online sites, they box Kerala into that's where they eat beef and do kathakali, and so I wanted to be like, yes, this is true, but there's so much more. I think we put a lot of pressure on the learner and not enough pressure on the society around them. It has to be a supportive environment. I'm sure it's not just with Malayalam, but other states as well. I think that as a society, a lot of things function on shame. And so it's like, if we shame them enough, maybe they'll learn it, or, this kind of thing. But actually, to learn a language or any topic, it has to be a positive environment. It has to be a supportive one. People are always very excited when I speak Malayalam, and even if I make a mistake, they're like, it's fine, you're trying. And I'm like, please tell this to your kids instead of mocking them for their mistakes, As kind as you are to me learning, please. They're like me, they're native English speakers. I know they're Malayali, their blood is Malayali, they have that culture in them, but their first language is English.